Welcome everybody to KUAF's The Lunch Hour, sponsored by Georgia's Majestic Happy Hour. We have with us today Eddie Canyon.
What's up?
And we have with us Travis from Eat My Catfish.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And my boy Ethan, as always. We're going to have a really good episode today. You don't want to miss. Stay tuned. That was a pretty good intro, I feel like.
That might be the best one yet.
Really might be the best one. All right. Yeah. So with us today, Eddie Canyon, Travis from Eat My Catfish. I want to throw both of you guys. I want to start with the ideas behind your names. You have Eat My Catfish has an interesting name, and so does Eddie Canyon. It sounds like your real name, but I just found out that it's not. And so I'm curious where these came from. Let's start with you, Travis.
So when I had the idea of a food truck back in 2008, I was 24. I lived in Dallas, and I was going to move back to like country Arkansas, Saline County, right?
Did Eat My Catfish start out as a food truck?
Yeah.
Let's
we were in the
go.
food truck for 3.5 years, and literally when we started it, I'd cook catfish once in my life, and I buy a single case of catfish, and I call them back. I say, how do I cook this? I swear that's a real story. But I was. I thought, man, there was no food trucks at the time, and I was like, how am I going to get people to come eat at this, what I call a roach coach? Because you only eat at these things like you're at the fair and the festival, right?
Yeah.
They're dirty, and they got like pre-made food, and it's not good. It's not fresh catfish like we specialize in. So I thought, let's do a .com name. So it was actually eatmycatfish.com. We've kind of dropped the .com the last couple of years. It's obviously still the website, but because I wanted people to be able to go look at our website and see what we had, and hopefully then get the courage to stop and eat a possible roach coach.
It looks like it worked.
Yeah, it did, man. It was good success.
That's awesome. Eddie.
I'm so nervous right now. Just like in general. So like, what is in like the power of a name? And like, I overthink stuff all the time. So I've overthought my artist name for like too many years. And I actually met Jasper through Ground Waves. And when I was doing Ground Waves, I didn't have a name yet. And I was still like kind of trying to figure it out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
And Murs was like trying to help me with that process, honestly. Shout out Murs, the GOAT. And through that process, we like got opportunity to do this show. And he was like, look, you have to have a name by the time I have this show, because like I have to put you on press. Like, what are you going to be named? And I was like, I don't know, man. I still don't know. And he's like, listen, you've got 24 hours. And so he was like DMing me on Instagram and like giving me ideas. We like we have like one-on-one sessions with him. We had a whole session on like, all right, what's your name going to be? And like, I had like 3 pages in this journal of like all these different ideas. And I used Eddie Canyon at one point, but I like did the thing where it's like, okay, look and see if that's out there. First thing, boom, it's some dude from Germany. So I was like, I can't do that name. So I was thinking all these other names, and then finally I was like, man, like I really like that name. Like at the end of the day, my middle name is Edward. So it's like, that's technically my name. And then my last name's Cannon. So it's like, if you just kind of the middle of that word.
Yeah.
And then it has a lot of other meaning, like Thomas Edison and the show Mr. Robot, and like what light bulbs mean, and like the power of water, and like being outside. That's all tucked in there too.
Wow.
But long story short, Eddie Canyon is the name.
I don't know if we can just stop right here and just sideline the show Robot, because I think I could talk about that for a while.
The show Mr. Robot?
Yeah.
Really? Well, how so?
I guess you binge watched it too?
Okay, so I only had 24 hours.
Is this an adult film show? Like the adult, what's it? Adult Swim?
No,
that's
this is Amazon Prime.
This is Amazon Prime. Okay, I'm not hip to this. Nah, put us on. Put us on.
That's the guy. Didn't he play? He played the guy with the tooth thing. Underbite. Yeah, Queen.
Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, Freddie Mercury. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did something that I hate to do, but like I did the Cliff Notes, and so I spent 3 hours watching a guy on YouTube explain the entire series. Oh wow. Because I was like, I have to get through it to see how it ends if I'm going to be inspired by it. Because I didn't have time to watch it. And it's crazy. It's about a hacker, and like.
Oh wait, I think I have heard of this one.
Yeah, it's wild.
Okay, but it's good.
So many twists. Yeah, it's 100% watch.
How many seasons is it?
3, I believe.
3.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out.
I want to watch the Cliff Notes now though, because there's so many things I didn't understand about the show. Because it's deep, you know.
It is, and it's like he said, twist. It's The whole.
Oh, and then the actor is the guy who played Freddie Mercury. I like him.
He's awesome.
I like that guy.
See, I missed that. I thought y'all said it was Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, no, I just,
Like, he's been gone for a
He's
while.
like, hey, man,
He played
that's
Freddie
super funny. Yeah, no, I like him as an actor. He was just in that one Denzel movie, that came on HBO. It was like, I can't remember the name of it, but it was really good. It was like, psychological thriller type thing. Like,
Done. I'm gonna look that up.
yeah, he's good in those. Okay, wait, I gotta ask you because you said you went through a few names. I feel like you gotta tell us like some of those names that you were like, not you. Like what were some of those names?
All right.
And then I want to ask you too because I'm sure there were a few iterations. Look, you
I don't remember, man. Pass.
already passing this early in the conversation.
It's only going to get worse.
All right. So one of the names I really wanted, and like I was running this by people, I really wanted to do the name Seance.
Seance.
All right. So check this out. So my name, Sean. My first name, Sean. You spell it S-E-A-N. Sorry, I had to how do you spell my name? S-E-A-N.
Yeah.
And then my middle initial is E, and my last initial is C.
Oh,
so
that's
you
fire.
flip those two.
Yeah.
And it just and it like looks like Sean C, but then you throw the little like on top of it. But so get this, a little bit about my brand. I'm like really into like spiritual stuff. And so let me tell you what a seance, like the definition of a seance.
Yeah.
A seance is an attempt to communicate with spirits. The word seance comes from the French word session, from the old French seor, to sit. So like basically it's like a person who's like channeling, or like a meeting that's like channeling spiritual stuff. And I was like, that's what I want my whole like thing to be about. I'm trying to translate and transfer higher power energy anytime I hop on the mic. So it's like
Like an impasse through music.
yeah,
type deal.
yeah. Because to me, music is like a crazy cool medium like that anyway. But all of my people were like, there's no way you can name yourself that.
And that's interesting because I do get that sense like when I listen to your music, there is a huge like I guess like influence, but it's almost deeper than influence. Like it's like exactly how you described. Like it's embedded, like it's infused in your music that like you want people to go deeper, specifically on the spiritual side. And I'm curious where that comes from, that desire. Like, are you yourself a very spiritual person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
for sure. Like I'm on information theory right now. And the crazy thing to me, I've always had this like longing for an understanding of things that are deeper than our own reality. And so like the spiritual realm in that, and to me is like, there's something that's real, but it's like beyond reality. That's like this intangible.
Yeah.
And humanity's talked about it forever, whether it's through religion or even through art or, through like vibrations or like, ancestor worship. Like there's always something that we like sense and are reaching towards that's like beyond us.
Yeah.
And so I've always been interested in that. And like, I mean, I grew up in the church and like, it was very much like a church thing for a while. But then I like ran away from that because I was like, bro, this is boring. I'm trying to go smoke weed. So I went and smoked a bunch of weed, drank a bunch of lean, and was like, found some other type of higher powers. But then, I came back to the church thing, but with like a little bit different perspective. And then like, even now I'm starting to see like, even like with things like information theory or like quantum mechanics or other things, it's like there's more to reality and like we out here trying to go toward it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I've got my own way I'm going toward it, and I'm like, hey, if you're trying to come my way, like let's talk, let's go do some stuff.
Yeah. In some ways it kind of feels like there's this like, I mean, because you said it like this is how you like grew up, right? And so like in some ways it's like this like almost like a deeper understanding of what you grew up into, and then like pushing that and then like transferring that out to the world and to like your audience.
That was put real well.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
did that really well.
And that's, I mean, and it's kind of similar in the same, like you grew up on a farm. You said that like, a lot of your menu comes from what you ate and what you ate, what your grandma made for you. And then talk about that a little bit.
I think it's interesting because you think about how you grew up and religion-wise. We say that taste buds are like, they don't forget, right? And so whatever you grew up eating lasagna like when you were a kid is probably like how you like your lasagna today.
Wow.
Or if you grew up eating catfish or wherever you grew up and like it crispy or thicker because that's how you grew up knowing it. This is how it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
So I grew up on a farm where 400 acres, grandma and grandpa were on one side of one pond and my great-grandparents on the other, but aunts and uncles and cousins were all on that same pond. So every anniversary and every birthday took place around my grandmother's kitchen table with a meal that she prepared. And it was like we came together. And the kitchen table was probably twice the size of this. So it wasn't big, right? It was a small house. But that's all I knew until my teenage years is just, you do everything as a family. And that we had, cattle, chickens, and big gardens. And there was always a classic plate dinner prepared by Mama that we ate. And so.
Talk about, and I can already tell because I've been to Eat My Catfish and the environment of it feels very homey. Like it kind of feels like it feels like you want people to feel like they're at home and that like they're getting that same experience that you did.
Yeah, no, for sure. We want it to feel like you're walking into grandma's house per se. Like you feel comfort right away.
Yeah.
We call it rustic modern, and we want to feel like a Catfish house, but also feel clean and like it's a new age. You were going to ask me what the other names were. And I honestly can't remember, but back in the day, they were all like Bob's Fish House, or I wouldn't name it Travis's, what fish barn or whatever. It didn't appeal to me. I wanted to feel like a newer, modern sense, because we were going after that fast casual audience that's became so popular since we kind of went brick and mortar, where you go in to get one thing really quick and get it out. And when you call it Bob's Fish House, it doesn't really work, right? And we're not a buffet, but so we wanted it to feel different, but also we wanted it to feel like. You probably all went to, well, maybe not you from Chicago, but you ever go to a fish fry in White County when you were growing up?
Yeah, the fire department would have a fish fry.
Exactly, and you walk up and there's probably picnic tables. It was outside. There was probably red and checkered tablecloths. There was probably some old guys around some big fryers. They were drinking sweet tea and lemonade, and there was probably some watermelon or something like that's what you grew up. And you can imagine just right now close your eyes and imagine that. And we want.
As you're describing, I'm like, oh man, that sounds kind of nice.
Yeah, so we want to go back to what you grew up on, and we need you to kind of feel like that when you get in because it's going to make you feel comfort right away.
I like how you said that, like, taste buds, like, don't forget, and you can jump in any.
Yeah,
anytime.
I was fixing to, but it was good, so I was like, I'll just hold myself back. But I did a little bit of homework because I'm a studious individual, and I saw your set design with the screens, and I really liked that because I feel like that is the biggest thing that like a lot of local artists will skimp out on. Is set design, because me personally, when I'm just like watching someone perform, I feel like that's so next level when you put the attention to how you're seen like on stage when you're performing. So kind of what brought that to light, I had my own ideas, but I haven't listened to all your music, so I don't know. But I had an interpretation of it.
Oh, start there. I want to hear your interpretation first.
I thought it was kind of, I don't want to say commentary because I think that word's kind of corny sometimes, but I thought it was sort of a commentary on how everyone's always glued to their screen. So now they're looking up at you and they're still glued to the screen, and it's just kind of also their reality.
Yeah.
That's what I got from it.
True. Yeah. And to go a little deeper on that, to have everybody looking at me and I'm like in this screen, but I'm also commenting on like, as an artist, there's so many times that I have to conform to the medium that I'm trying to like hit people with. So like if I'm on Instagram, like I'm not just gonna do whatever I want to do. Like I kind of have to do whatever Instagram is best suited for. Or like TikTok, I think is one of the best examples of this. Like it has a way that it like, I will say like forces you to like think, act, behave, and like create your content in order to get viral, in order to like fit the mold.
Yeah.
No matter what like micro pocket you're on, whether you're just talking and you're a talking head giving like advice on something, or like if you're doing dances, or if you're doing like a little music video, if you're doing like, just goofy, funny stuff, like it's all got like a confinement. And so part of it is I was like, I want to put myself in a prison of screens to show that like in order to be on this platform, I have to conform to the stage. And it's crazy because if you look at the stage I was on, it's big.
It was a big stage.
And I don't move on it because I'm like, I don't have the ability to use all of like the creativity I could, because in order to get this out through this digital packaging, I have to like conform to this.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
I know. I liked it. And
deep.
I
That
saw
is super
something.
deep.
Yeah.
And oh, go ahead.
It's fine.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm kidding. I saw something the other day that was kind of in that vein, where it was like, are we teaching artists to be a master of their craft or a master of the algorithm? And
Oh yeah.
it was kind of talking about how these systems we have now, they're really cool to get stuff out, but it's also like really watered down a lot of the stuff people make. So like I have to be mindful, even in my own stuff, that I don't make it for that. I make it for myself, and then if it takes its place on that, then it'll work. But it's a delicate balance for sure.
It is.
That makes me curious. How do you how do you keep your authenticity while trying to also like conform, but while also trying to like move forward and like get bigger, whatever that means? But like, how do you like in the midst of conforming, like how do you keep what you know, like, hey, y'all can't have that, or like, I'm not gonna change that. Like, how do you decide what to keep, and then what is that tension like?
Oh, man, $10,000 question right there. So for me, like just keeping it real, like whenever I was like plotting, like, okay, if I'm gonna do this artist thing, like for real, like as a business, I basically have two options. The option is to like pursue the local scene and like it be more relationship based and it be more like, you know, just handshakes and face to face. And like, I got to give y'all credit. Like I've seen Jasper do this like incredibly well, and it's working for y'all. Yeah, like props.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and so it's like y'all even like showed me that idea was possible. And then the other side is like, okay, like I could go for the internet. And that's going to be playing the algorithms. That's going to be like, I'm going to have to post like 6 or 7 times a day in order to get viral. That's like, I'm going to have to get creator partnerships with YouTube, with TikTok, whatever, to get income off that. Because we all know Spotify and all them boys, they don't pay nothing.
Nope.
So like, where's the money going to come from? But for me, where I'm at now is I've actually decided like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. Like, if I have a circle of time that is like 100%, and then I chop that pie up, like, instead of spending the time on like becoming an artist in the way of like I'm spending my marketing time on TikTok, I'm spending my marketing time on Instagram, I'm like, bro, I'd rather just get a job and just like have money coming in through like some other type of thing. And then when I do art, I do what I do, and then I don't have to worry about if it makes money or not.
Yeah,
because like at the end of the day, like it's cool when that bread comes, and it's like I feel like that's people kind of saying like, yo, I respect your stuff, that's dope. Yeah, and at the same time, it's like, man, I didn't have to really sell nothing. I didn't have to sell my soul for that. You know what I'm saying? And like, and I have my sanity, and it's like I can just go right into the music, because otherwise, it's like, you know, you're actually doing all this other stuff around the music and around the art, where I'm like, man, I'd just rather focus on that and do something else.
And yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I find all that really, really intriguing. I was trying to think back, like, how does this relate to, you know, inside our box? And you're selling an algorithm, right? And we want as much free advertising as we get. And you make a good organic post on Facebook and you get a lot of reach. But is that content really based around what you want to sell? Probably not, right? We got to put a big freaky catfish of someone holding up, like it's cool. People are going to click on it. It's clickbait, and then maybe they come to our brand, right? We would rather show them what we have that's special, or a new LTO or whatever, limited time offer. But when you put a picture of an LTO on there, it's probably not going to get any attention. And so you got to just unfortunately do what you don't want to do sometimes, and it's unfortunate. You know what? And what I think it's what gets me is, I guess, being an owner and being judged by what I post personally, and not being able to speak out about things that aren't even I'm not talking about politics or whatever, but you just know that there's a force out there that when you go that route, people are going to judge you and not come to there because you believe something, you know. And so that's the part is the inability to speak mine sometime in that platform. But
and how have you how do you deal with that tension? I mean, because
I just don't do it. You know, I don't have the time for social really anyway. But yeah, just it's just not worth it. You know, I don't like conflict in social media. You know, I address conflict at work head on because it's, you know, it's how you make people better. It's how we get better. If you avoid it, it's just going to blow up. But I don't want to create it in a social environment or, you know, a social media environment. Yeah. It just throttles.
Can I ask a question real fast on something you said?
Yeah.
You said when you were talking about basically, like if you post something personally, there's like a force out there that like, depending on what you say and then people react. What's that force? I'm curious. Can you like elaborate on what that force is?
You know, I think we'll go back to the pandemic, and I don't want to talk about that today. Please, can we avoid that? But, you know, there was a point where restaurants really got a lot of hate, right? And very rarely do I voice out and how people react to restaurants and whatnot. But there's been a couple times where people were just really rude to our staff or, you know, cussed them, whatever, you know, spit on them. And I voiced out about it. And in those instances when I chose to use my voice, it did get a really warm reception. You know, there was a lot of positive feedback, and, you know, if you want to grade it by likes and stuff, there was a lot of interaction on that. But I think if I was continually to just rant about things that I see every day, then it would be viewed the wrong way, right? And that's not how I want to be viewed. I want to be viewed for the good things that we do for developing our staff and leaders and stuff like that. And I will say, you know, when we post about, you know, people, you know, their anniversaries or how good they do for us or their accomplishments, it does well. Those do a lot more than pictures of food. People love to see us recognize our staff. So
that's what's up.
Is that one of the ways that you, like, as a small business owner, like kind of like to separate yourselves from other like local small businesses, like making sure that you take care of your staff and like appreciate them, and then like if not, what are some other things that you go, all right, this is what's going to be like, this is what's going to separate us and how we conduct ourselves and do business here?
Yeah, so me and my wife absolutely do what we do 14 years in because we feel like we can make an impact in mostly young people's life, but anybody's life, you know, whether it be helping them work their way through college or buy their first home, first car, or just learning leadership skills to use in their career down the road. I've seen it time and time again where somebody's worked through college and they go get that first big interview and they nail it and they get the job over all these other candidates because they learned the basic leadership skills that we can teach them and let them mature, right? And I will say, taking that back, you know, we talk about mama sauce and the fresh shrimp and all that good stuff that I learned from my grandparents, like those recipes and stuff. But truly, what they taught us is how to treat people. And it didn't matter skin color, race, white, black, male, female, rich, poor. They treated everybody the same. And just watching up and looking up to them, and that was truly what was instilled inside of us. It wasn't that, you know, that love to cook. That was there too, but this other part means a lot more, and I think that's what's going to has helped us be successful and will continue. Yeah, just the ability to treat people the right way.
Talk a little bit about like how important the community is to your business. You know, even in Little Rock, and even here, like in Northwest Arkansas, and the other different spaces that you've been able to place operations in. How important is it to have the community behind you and to like champion the community?
Yeah, you know, there's economics only work if we all help each other. And I think the best areas have great chambers of commerce that help, you know, facilitate that type of stuff. What you're doing here, bringing people in the community together and recognizing them and letting them tell their stories. It's all about that. But whether it be sponsoring sports teams or go and talk to students about getting a first job. I mean, I love that stuff because I know that, you know, there may be 60 kids in that room, but I bet if 5 of them will hear something I say and help them get, you know, further along. We see great differences in communities that have secondary education. So we search out for new locations if they have community colleges or four-year college, because usually there's kids in that area that want to do better.
Wow.
But then we were in metro markets where their kids don't come from two-parent households typically. They're lower income. They don't have the discipline. They didn't play sports or whatever. And that takes a lot more. But it's, can we teach them the basics functions of how to be a responsible adult? I think when you don't hold people accountable, then you're not doing your due diligence in helping the individual. And it goes back to those difficult conversations, you know, that you got to have them, you know. And a lot of times they don't want to hear it and they walk out the door, but at least I said it because there's other people in their life that probably never have, right?
Yeah.
And so we've always said we believe we're helping grow the future leaders of the community, and we're a small part of that, but we have a responsibility in that for sure.
That's beautiful. And then I mean, you said it earlier, like how like, you know, the local community is important for you as like a local artist, and like being able to like make sure you shake hands and being able to like, you know, see people face to face. And like, I feel like as an artist, I mean, it is as an artist, it's easy to like, you know, do your thing and then leave, you know what I mean? But like, I've definitely seen you like out at shows, like perform and take time to like personally shake hands and like meet with people and like have conversations and things like that. And talk about a little how that's important for you and why.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I'll say, I spent some time in the restaurant industry, and especially behind the curtain, like people who work, like the kitchen staff and the wait staff, man, it draws an interesting type of person. I'll put that out there. I'm gonna set that over here, but because we'll come back to that in a sec, maybe. And then here about being an artist, and even about like the Facebook force he was talking about earlier, like. Something that has been really hitting me lately as an artist is like this idea of medium and this idea of media, like face-to-face conversation. Like there's something happening that's like kind of intangible. Yeah. Like you can hear my words, you can see my eyes, but like there's something going on in both of our heads, like in our consciousness right now as we have these type of conversations. That's like, it's something. And it's like, we call it a conversation or we call it like talking, but and then like you could break it down to its pieces, like eye contact, words, you know, stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, like I'm listening, you know what I'm saying? But like when you really get to the like meat of it, it's like, what is this? Well, the tech world has found out how to take not only what's happening face to face, but what happens when you get a bunch of people in a crowd, or when you get like a bunch of like just people, and they've like abstracted that into a place of media. And it's not just the tech people, like it's like TV, it's radio, it's music. It's like taking the human experience and like extracting it and then like putting it somewhere. Yeah. And then like a lot of times it's like an industry of like you take a human experience, you pull it out, you like put it on wax, and then you can like, you sell it, you know what I'm saying? And it's like a product now. And so like for me, stepping in as an artist, I was like, man, I don't want to lean on that side, because that to me is leaning into the algorithm. That to me is leaning into like confining myself into these spaces. I was like, man, I want to keep it real. Like I want to keep it human, and I want to keep it like as tangible, as intangible as it is, as possible. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it's important because it's like media and medium is like, it's a separation from the true thing. Like I'm in a booth somewhere making this track far away from you, or like I'm on my phone, like in this little box, like, whereas like, nah, bro, I'm right here. Yeah. Like you could smell me. If I didn't take a shower, you gonna know, you know, or like.
You smell good, by the way.
Thank you.
What is that? Is that Axe or?
Kinda. Yeah. It was like a little bit of Blue Day Chanel and an accidental of Axe, because that's a whole nother story.
You wear different colognes based on where you're going?
If I had it like that, I would.
Yeah.
I would do it by like color. Like scent color.
Yeah.
If I could do it to where like the color matched the fit.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But I'm not balling like
How about you, Jasper?
I wear a different one every day.
Different one every day?
Yeah.
Does it depend on where you're going?
Not necessarily. It's just how I feel. It's more about how I wake up
The
feeling.
mood? Yeah. Jasper?
I like the same. Nah, I like the
Same one?
consistency. Yeah, like I wear the same kind of cologne, which is just the YSL like blue, and it's like subtle. And it's
Oh, so you're
nah, it's just
okay. If I had
just-
some YSL cologne.
No, it's just it's subtle. It's like well, you get the small and it lasts. Like you just it's nice and subtle, and you don't use that much. Like so you can really only smell it if you like. Nah, like I do it on the neck. So you really only smell it if you like give me a hug and like.
That's what I was telling my little G earlier today. I was like, you want it to be subtle, so that you got to get close to smell.
Yeah, that's how it's.
Yo, I cook beats like this dude cooked Catfish, and then I hop on my own tracks, and then I rap slick. Sometimes it's kind of funny, add in some slapstick, and I ain't talking about Memphis when I say my records make stacks, kid.
What?
Nice. Nice.
That's what I got for that.
I liked it, and it got the point across really well.
Nah, yeah, and it's that's interesting. Yeah, you do make your own beats, right? And you like, And like I just saw, what was it, the when you did Bike Rack and you had the stripped down, just like the acoustic guitar and like I don't know what that's called.
The cajon.
Cajones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and you just
rapped.
rapped.
Me at church growing up. Dude, on the cajon.
You played a cajon growing up?
No, I don't. But that reminds me of. I mean, I'm sure I could. I think I can figure it out. It seems like a different time. I'll think about that later. That's what they would always have at church. They'd have the little cajon.
Pass.
Guitar.
Yeah.
But no, you did like that's not what you normally think for a rapper. You know what I mean? Like you don't normally go think like, all right, I'm going to a rap show, and then the guy is going to be
sick. I didn't think
playing a guitar, in the cajon. Like, how did that come about?
It's interesting I mentioned Memphis. So I'm really long-winded unless I rap, and then I like put it all into like tightly packed bars. So here's another long-winded one. Long story short, man, being from Arkansas, like there's a lot of regional music influences around us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Whether you go from like Memphis, Texas, Louisiana, you got Nelly up in St. Louis, like you can just look around and see a lot of musical influences, but Arkansas doesn't really have like, oh, that's its sound, other than like borrowing from that.
Yeah.
And so part of me was like, man, like if I just like was blindfolded and had to walk through a music store in Arkansas, and like what would I come out with? And what's crazy is like I don't know if I manifested that or not. I don't even know if I believe in manifesting type things, but like people gave me a whole bluegrass band. Like my wife came with 2 guitars whenever I married her, and then our neighbor gave us a piano. My old buddy gave me a banjo, and then my mother-in-law gave me a mandolin. And so I was like, all I need now is like the spoons and like the washboard. And so
I got some.
You got Travis got you.
I'll hook you up, bro.
Yeah, that's what's up. You got the. I need some of that. Like
The jugs.
Yeah. So like, Jughead was another rap name I had at one point. But like,
That doesn't fit you, dude. I'm glad you didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, because you didn't stick with Jughead.
Yeah.
dodged a bullet on that one. So one of the things that I'm like really interested in is like, man, like how can I just like, cause like the trap sound is hot in hip hop right now, and like it might be on its way out just cause it's been raining for like 10 years, if not longer. And like some may say Drake's trying to take it to house music. All right, that's cool, but it's like, by the way, Sticky was what his whole album should have been. I'm just gonna drop that there.
Yeah.
But anyway, so like the guitar, back to the guitar and everything. I'm like, man, what would be like the craziest thing that really hasn't been explored, at least from my experience, in the hip hop sound? And I'm like, man, bluegrass is music that I never, ever, ever would have touched before like 2 or 3 years ago, even just as a casual listener, because I was like, when I was growing up and like, picking my music genres that I was like really identifying with, like everything I picked was like as far away from that as possible. And so I was always like, But it's like, man, what if you took the hip hop mentality of sampling and like, regionally, where it's gonna sound southern, gonna probably have some Memphis sound to it, and then throw in some instruments from like some bluegrass just to throw it off and to be like, bro, how do we know that there's not some crazy untapped potential here?
Yeah.
I think there is. I remember a few years back, a lot of people using samples like these electric guitar riffs. And I was like, you could slow it down a little bit, just play some chords. It might be a whole different thing. And it never went that way.
To me, I look at a lot of music now, and it's so synthetic, it's so electronic, and it's like it's matching a lot of the like pharmaceutical drugs that are popular. Like you go back and listen to trap in like 2015, 2012, that little pocket, it's like you're gonna hear about Xanax, you're gonna hear about Percocets, you're gonna hear about lean, and it's like, yeah, you still got weed there, but it's like you go back to the 70s and look, and it's like, man, them dudes were basically just talking about weed and like having sex out in the field. Like, because that's the type of music and vibe. So anyway, like I see music as really synthetic, the drugs are really synthetic. But my idea is like, bro, what if we took it back to the vegetables? Like we're not even taking drugs, we're just eating healthy from the earth. And it's like, instead of going more and more technological with our music and stuff, bro, let's start ripping it back to like very organic, to the point to where it's like, you know what I'm saying, like futuristic, ancient or some type of thing.
So self-care music.
Yeah. And like on some real deep, like, man, just be around the vibrations of what's around you.
I wanna ask this last question to both of you guys. You talked about how the narrative of like when you think about like there's a concept of when you think about like Arkansas music and like culture even, and how you're trying to, in some ways, redefine that and reshape it to make it different. And I'm curious, like, where do you see yourself in that? Like, I feel like in some ways it's the same in like food. Like, do we know what like Arkansas food is known as? You know what I mean? I feel like there's some like barbecue, there's some like, I feel like there's a lot of catfish spots, but like, I feel like it hasn't, we don't know, like outside like of Arkansas, like I don't think people can like, I don't think we know what the narrative is, which I think it's a good thing, and that like, we're in the process of like, shaping that narrative of like creating that narrative. So I'm curious what that looks like for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll take it the way I think I should take it. If you want to change it, let me know. But I go back to, we're not Bob's Fish House where like you walk in, there's a huge buffet and your grandparents take you there on Friday and Saturday night and you plunge out. Like, we didn't want to be that. We wanted to be like the modern edge catfish place where you walk in and get a quick meal that's quality. You may pay, just a lower price than the buffet, but it's going to be quality food. It's not a buffet, right? But one of our core values is innovation, and we do that because when we started doing crawfish back in that food truck, and we got to the restaurant, I said, well, I don't want to sell crawfish by like a platter. I want to sell by the pound. You can go buy 1 pound, you can buy 15 pounds. If you want to buy vegetables, you can. They're a la carte. And then we're going to have bowling buckets where we mix in snow crab and Gulf shrimp or lobster claws and that kind of stuff, and with the corn and potatoes, right? So it's its own little steamer, right? Let's do it that way. How can we take a traditional dish like fried green tomatoes and chunk it and make it sweet and spicy instead of just the slices? But we keep trying to think about outside the box of how do we take a traditional Arkansas dish and put it in a fast casual environment, stay true to what people expect out of Arkansas, which is catfish on Fridays, a good Southern meal that feels homey, but make it more modern, and that where you. And I'll tell you one more thing. When we started, everybody said, well, how are you going to do this? Because only old people eat catfish, and all of them are going to be dead pretty soon. I'm like, good point. Whoa. So I'm like, all right, well, that's pretty straight on. All right, so I was like, all right, how are we going to get kids to eat catfish? Because at the time, it wasn't like 20-year-olds wanted to eat catfish. Yeah. And so we've really gone after and tried to figure out how do we want kids, like the best compliment I can have is when you walk in, you're like, hey, yeah, we came here tonight because my son and daughter wanted to come here. They get to choose, and they came here. And so that's awesome. Like, how do we continue to do that and make this a place where kids grow up in our stores? They have their colored sheets on the wall where they wrote their name, yada, yada, yada. They're proud. They love to come there. We're not Chick-fil-A. I don't want to be Chick-fil-A, but I want to be a place where the family wanted to come because the kids wanted to come.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And then you already talked about how you're currently trying to reshape that narrative and write your own narrative in Arkansas music.
I would say just stay tuned in because I'm trying to figure it out. So,
I have one last thing, and then I might go into a closing monologue if you don't care.
That's cool.
Jasper doesn't care.
Let the record show.
Yeah.
You're kind of talking about how people don't really know what Arkansas is known for. I've been talking about Soprano all day off the camera, but the show starts where he says it's better to be in something from the ground floor, and like I feel like maybe not necessarily as a state, but as an area, we're very much at the ground floor of like huge growth, and 100%. People that are part of the art movement in the area, and it's also part of the culinary parts of the area. Like, we really get to shape what this looks like in 20 years, what people know the place for. So that's just exciting. And now for my closing monologue. This was a great interview. Thank you, Travis, and thank you, Eddie, for coming out. I can't speak for Jasper, but I had a great time. I think Jasper did too. This is KUF 91.3, The Lunch Hour, brought to you by George's Majestic Happy Hour. Thank you, and
we're out.